Spiral is an interesting archetype that attempted to center its strategy around one particular monster, boosting that monster with numerous on-field support. Unfortunately, this strategy has been somewhat lacking, especially leading up to Maximum Crisis, with the deck somewhat floundering, being limited largely to a rank 1 spam and/or synchro heavy instead of focusing on Super Agent. Ironically, Super Agent seemed to provide more value as a level 4 tech in other decks over starring in its own deck. Interestingly enough, the new support for Maximum Crisis did not change this reality, but instead introduced an entirely new way of playing the deck that is more viable than the current way, but still leaves Super Agent as a minor supporting player rather than the superstar that he was intended to be. The sad thing is that right now, and in the foreseeable future, making the deck solid around Super Agent seems a little difficult, especially due to the fact that Spiral has had its last installment of direct support. So, with that said, what does my Spiral deck look like? Like most of the time, let's look at direct support first. Sleeper is the new key card for what seems to be the optimal play strategy for the deck. It is somewhat ironic that the most important card for the deck is the supposed bad guy. On its face, Sleeper does not appear to be such a great card, for it has a restrictive summoning condition involving banishing 3 Spiral cards from the graveyard, a good but not overwhelming attack at 2800, and an incredibly risky destruction condition that destroys all of the cards on your field when he is destroyed. However, his quick play +1 destruction effect is rather nasty as an interrupter. Also, because his board wipe effect is only valid when destroyed rather than sent to the graveyard, Kaijus are not a large concern with this nuclear board effect. Overall, though, Sleeper would have been a fair card with a nice risk-reward association, if not for the existence of another new piece of support, which basically breaks him. However, due to the summon's condition and the searching and quasi-recursion effect of Spiral Resort, running one copy is appropriate. On its face, Master Plan looks great as a 2800 defender that nets a +1 once per turn, and when removed from the field and sent to the graveyard, nets 2 searches. Unfortunately, there are 2 significant problems surrounding Master Plan at the moment. First, as a level 7 monster, getting her on the field in the first place can be somewhat difficult, largely either involving dumping her to the graveyard and then reviving her with something like Big Red or even a Call of the Haunted, or getting a card like Assault in the graveyard, largely through Foolish Burial Goods, and then summoning her from the hand. Second, Spiral do not have a tuner monster, so removing her from the field to get her search effect during your turn is largely inefficient, forcing you to rely on non-archetype specific tuners, giving your opponent an opportunity to remove her without her effect. Now, this problem will change somewhat dramatically when Link summoning hits the TCG, because now, in a sense, every monster becomes a tuner and can remove her from the field to the graveyard for a generic Link monster, netting the search effect. However, even with Link summoning, the general play strategy of the deck does not require Master Plan, and her inclusion does force certain deck changes to ensure her consistency. Overall, she's just not worth it at the moment. Tough is one of those hard luck cards, for it is not a bad card, but is just not good enough for the current best Spiral deck operating strategy. The biggest problem with Tough is while when he's on the field or in the graveyard he can impersonate Super Agent, he does not have the innate special summoning ability that the original model has, meaning that you will commonly have to give up your normal summons for him or some piece of revival, and usually no guarantee on his destruction effect. That normal summons is commonly better spent on summoning something like Quick-Fix. The supposed superstar Super Agent definitely has some nice things going for it. Level 4, 1900 attacker, Earth, with an innate special summoning ability, albeit not guaranteed in all instances, in addition to the ability to pop an opponent's back row when summoned by a Spiral card effect, including his own. Also, his presence on the field is an important condition for the activation of a number of other Spiral effects. Unfortunately, the problem Super Agent has is that a number of the cards that are built to help him carry out his missions are just not good. So that leaves Super Agent as a nice card, but not something that can really carry the weight of the deck, especially when compared to a card like Sleeper. However, he is still important in the deck, so I run 2 copies because he is somewhat easy to search. Spygal Misty is definitely one of those cards that annoyed players because in exchange for her pun-like name, Misty has been locked out of being referred to as a spiral monster, heavily limiting her usefulness. Her effect is not bad, for drawing is always nice, but she suffers from the same problem as Tough, without the impersonation effect. Her secondary effect of returning a super agent and opposing monster to the hand is also rather nice due to its quick play aspect. Unfortunately, her type and attribute are also rather inefficient for the deck. In short, Misty is a useful card, but thanks to her name, attribute, and type, it is more difficult to get her on the field. Basically, in some respects, she is like a level 4 version of Master Plan. Nice effects, but too much trouble to get her out on the field to use them. And the effects are not game breaking, where there's a heavy motivation to want to use them. Now introducing the card that breaks Sleeper, Last Resort. If one were keeping the theme as pure as possible, Last Resort should have only been able to equip itself to Super Agent, not any Spiral monster. But that is not the case. Last Resort is definitely useful. Having the ability to equip from hand, i.e. the second generation Union effect, makes the equipped monster a Magispector, avoiding destruction and targeting, and allows the equipped monster to attack directly by sacrificing another card on your field. In the case of Sleeper, Last Resort allows Sleeper to target itself for its on-field destruction effect, prevents Sleeper's destruction while still netting those up to 2 cards destroyed from your opponent's field. Basically, Sleeper plus Last Resort is a continuous +2 machine during either player's turn and heavily limits the ability of the opponent to launch a counterstrike. However, despite Last Resort being so good, similar to Sleeper, it is only good in the right circumstances, and the searching and recursion ability of Spiral Resort along with Quick-Fix searching makes running 1 copy appropriate in my eyes. Charming Resort Staff has the same problems as Misty. Some nice but somewhat lacking effects, but you tend to have more problems getting her onto the field in the first place to have an opportunity to use those effects. First, it would have been nice if her attack alteration effect was more of an honest effect rather than a melodious score. Second, it would have been nice if her banish effect summoned the super agent rather than just simply returned him to the hand, but whatever. Overall, just like Misty, maybe she could have had her uses if it was easier to get her onto the field, but that is not the case. Quick-Fix is a 3-copy monster, for his search effect is important in gathering resources to either help Super Agent or Sleeper carry the day on the field. Able to grab Big Red, Last Resort, Drone, or Fully Armed from the deck, Quick-Fix definitely has nice versatility to match the current needs of the player. Quick-Fix has an innate special summon ability from the graveyard when Super Agent is on the field as well, providing another search because, of course, he doesn't have a once per turn condition on this search effect. That lack of a once per turn condition can lead to some ridiculous card combinations for this deck, dependent on the way you design it. Drone is another one of those cards that has good intentions, but is just not right for the existing meta. The ability to screw with your opponent's next few draws and guarantee the effects of your various agents is always nice, and the attack increase can be useful because it is permanent. Thus, a super agent bolstered by a last resort can become even more dangerous if Drone offers it more attack power. Finally, the banish effect even has its moments, but will commonly not carry the day, but heck, it's nice to have nonetheless. Unfortunately, Drone is just not explosive enough for this given deck, given the type of meta we're playing in now. Due to it being so easy to search, though, 1 copy is appropriate. Spiral Mission Assault comes off as one of those win more cards, because again, drawing is nice, but when spiral monsters are successfully controlling the field, those draws have less value than they otherwise might. The banish effect is also nice, but unless one is running Master Plan, it's usually less helpful than it otherwise would be. Basically, Assault is a nice card, but just doesn't seem to do enough. Big Red is basically an archetype-specific premature burial, with the added benefit of granting battle destruction immunity. That immunity is not a fantastic benefit, but can definitely be worthwhile from time to time when you don't draw well and need to sit on something like a quick fix. Big Red is especially important in this deck for triggering Quick Fix and Super Agent's effects. Overall, due to its searchability, I do only run 2 copies instead of 3. Fully Armed is another nice niche support card, for it makes Super Agent a 2900 attacker with the ability to banish another card on the field after destroying a monster by battle, thus providing some level of nice field control when Sleeper is not available. While nice, Fully Armed is situational and searchable, thus I feel 1 copy is appropriate. 3 copies of SPYRAL Resort is basically required for any quality Spiral deck. The ability to magnet targeting, search for any Spiral monster once per turn. This once per turn is not a hard once per turn, so playing multiple resorts nets multiple searches, and the maintenance cost is rather helpful for producing the ability to recycle certain monsters, most notably Last Resort, Sleeper, and various extra deck monsters. Really, there's nothing more to say about SPYRAL Resort other than it's a great and necessary card. Utility Wire is the archetype-specific version of Phoenix Wing Windblast, and while there is no discard cost, the requirement of a super agent on the field produces its own consistency problems. Overall, while Wire is a nice solid card, it is just too slow for the deck because of the non-guaranteed effect. Rescue is alright, but nothing special. In a Link summoned world, the auto +1 hand return effect becomes much more valuable, and the banish effect for a free special summons from the graveyard is rather useful, especially when running Master Plan, but right now Rescue is just not worth the deck space in my opinion. Recapture is another nice, solid card that is just not good enough, in part because of that special summons condition over normal or special. The on-field effect would be rather nice in a Link Summons world, for the taken opponent's monster can simply be used in a Link Summons to remove it and evade the no direct attack effect. Sleeper could send it to the graveyard for its effect, and then use its banish effect to protect itself for another Sleeper effect when Last Resort is not available. While these are all nice things, again, as mentioned, Recapture, though, solid, just doesn't seem to be fast or quality enough for the other available options. While I try to keep a deck as pure as possible, overall the major problem with most of the Spiral support as we've just seen is simply circumstance. When imagining the deck as a pure construct, one sees a deck that nets numerous +1s through a variety of means. The important thing is, though, that these +1s come with time, not in bunches. Basically, this deck in a pure form can commonly net +4, +5 over the course of 3 turns. However, in a meta where other decks can net +4, +5s over the course of 1 turn, this long-term control strategy is typically not going to be successful. This is unfortunate because Spirals are actually a really good control deck. However, even when Link Summoning comes, it does not appear that the game will be slow enough for a mostly pure version of Spiral to be successfully competitive. With that said, Spiral has moved from being a rank 1 synchro spam type deck using Quick Fix and machine duplication to getting Sleeper on the field with Last Resort as fast as possible. There are 4 popular strategies right now to achieving this goal. 1. The Predaplant engine using Scorpio and Darling. 2. Gofu. 3. Using Miscellaneous and Jurraic Aeolo. 4. DD Lamia with Gate. The strength of the Predaplant engine is the ability to explode much more than other engines, due to the acquisition of Super Agent from Invoker and an instant fusion from Cobra. But the weakness is you have to use your normal summons. If you draw Cobra, you're out of luck, and if Scorpio's effect gets negated or it gets destroyed, well, the play just kind of stops. The strength of Gofu is a free special summons with a token wall that really don't get in the way of your play, so you have some level of defense if your opponent somehow stops your play, and a level 5 tutor to help jumpstart your Synchro string. The weakness is it requires Spiral Resort to accomplish anything of great significance, because it's a jumping off point largely to get Ancient Fairy Dragon onto the field. The strength of the Miscellaneous Aeolo combo is the free special summons of a level 1 tuner, increasing playmaking through Crystal Wing summoning or Formula Synchron summoning, and having that extra level 4 in your deck that could also be in your hand for going the Tatsunoku route, and extra potential fuel for Coral Dragon's effect. The weakness is you draw Aeolo and the engine loses its juice. The strength of Lamia and Gate is that it's a little more consistent. The drawback is a lack of versatility. So with that said, I like combining the second and third options, Gofu and Miscellaneous, for I think the Predaplant engine, while powerful, is too easily broken, and the Lamia Gate combo is not explosive enough. It requires extra tools from the hand. To that end, I run 3 copies of Gofu, 2 copies of Miscellaneous, and 1 copy of Jurraic Aeolo. Yes, drawing Aeolo can suck, but that's the breaks of it, and Miscellaneous is still an 1800 attacker, level 4 monster, so it's not the end of the world like it could be if you draw Cobra. Also, due to the importance of having a level 1 tuner, I run the obvious 1 copy of Glow Bulb for Formula, Maturia Beast, and Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon summoning. Now, there are a number of turbo builds out there that basically rely on going first to win, functioning under the general philosophy of go first or bust. I am only a fan of those types of strategies for a very specific number of decks, and this is not one of them. As mentioned earlier, this deck has some nice control elements. It does not need to go turbo or bust, in my opinion. Therefore, I like to design this deck to have a fighting chance when going second, because getting that extra card can be valuable as well. To that end, I run 3 Kaijus, 1 Gadarla, 1 Gameciel, and 1 Kumongous, along with 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which can have its moments also as a synchro material for summoning an Ancient Fairy Dragon. Finally, I like to tech in 1 copy of Performage Trick Clown as another level 4 for Ancient Fairy Dragon summoning with Tatsunoko. It's a nice discard target for Coral Dragon or Quick-Fix, and a means to make a rank 4 play in the end. Heck, all in all, it can act as a temporary wall stalling for a turn if it comes to that. For the remaining spells, I run 3 copies of Instant Fusion, for even though Norden is no longer available, there are still a number of quality options from the extra deck to help extend your playmaking. 3 copies of the obvious Terraforming, because getting SPYRAL Resort is super important. The rest of the spells are a number of 1 copy cards, 1 copy of Raigeki for field clearance, 1 copy of Upstart Goblin for increased speed, as the extra 1000 life is rather meaningless with the proper setup sleeper, 1 copy of 1 for 1 for increasing the summoning potential for Quick Fix and Glow Bulb, 1 copy of Reinforcement of the Army for searching Super Agent, 1 copy of Fossil Dig for searching Miscellaneous, and 1 copy of Foolish Burial for Glow Bulb and Quick Fix utility. One obvious omission from the deck, some SPYRAL players may note, is set rotation. Overall, I'm not a fan of the consistency of set rotation because it is definitely a turbo card for the way it is played most of the time, as those second and third copies are completely worthless. For the extra deck, I run the following: 1 copy of Sea Monster of Theseus, 1 copy of Panzer Dragon. It makes Ancient Fairy Dragon with Formula Synchron. 1 copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict, 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, 1 PSY-Framelord Omega, 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon, 1 Coral Dragon, 1 Stardust Charge Warrior, 1 Maturia Beast, 1 High Speedroid Chanbara, 1 Herald of the Arclight, 1 Tatsunoko, 1 Formula Synchron, 1 Sylvan Princess Sprite. For the final spot in the extra deck, basically run just any rank 4. I like Castel or Tornado Dragon, depending on the deck I'm facing. Overall, there's not much to say. In conclusion, the deck is definitely competitive because of the simple insanity of the Sleeper Last Resort combination, which a number of decks have few answers for, if any. In addition to this fantastic combo, the deck is consistent and fast, in part thanks to Quick Fix not having a once per turn limit on its effect and a self-recursion effect. I don't like the turbo build, largely because I feel there's just too much Ghost Ogre, Ghost Ash, and Lockbird in the meta, and putting all of your eggs into the I hope you don't have a hand trap basket is too risky and inconsistent for my tastes. Well, that is my SPYRAL deck. Thank you for your attention and your time. I'm out.